Glennon Brothers has a terrific legacy of phenomenal contributions for a lot of people over the last 100 years, and they have really made Glennon Brothers what it is today.
Over 100 years ago, William and James Glennon returned from America to Ireland for a short visit. A visit that would change their lives dramatically. In November 1913, an ad appeared in the Longford Leader announcing the reopening of a local sawmill under a new name, Glennon Brothers.
It went very well during the First World War, from 1914, I'd say even after the war up to about 1919, because there was a huge demand for timber in the country. And one of the huge successes was egg boxes. They also supplied cart material. It really started off very well. You can see up to 1915. You can see it averages out in some of the sums for a month about maybe £20. You see £30 there and £26. But then it really went into decline. We find a letter that my grandfather wrote to the local TD in 1923, and he paints a fairly bleak picture. He outlines how the scarcity of timber had almost wiped out the business.
With the business struggling, James returned to America and left the sawmill to William. It wasn't until 1943, when William's son Paddy took the reins, that things started to look up again.
Dad came into the business in '43. And he really brought the business forward himself, and Uncle Mick joined a bit later, I think in the 60s. But two of them drove the business forward. There was really tough times. I remember him telling the story umpteen times to me that he hadn't the money to pay the wages. And this was Friday then, and I said, God, what am I going to do? So they actually cut a load of fencing stakes and they went to Quinns of Edgestown. And he knew the Quinns of Edgestown were an absolutely guaranteed customer that pay him cash. And he got the cash for the actual wages that evening. And like things came so close to the bread like that, you know what I mean?
It was a tremendous time to be involved, because, you know, it was all this development. It was all go, and it still had to produce timber.
Paddy Glennon remained at the helm for over half a century.
Paddy liked someone that worked hard, but fair, and to be honest and to be reasonable, and do the job that was meant to be done. And Paddy believed in that, and I suppose he instilled that into me at a young age.
He was a true gentleman. He was a great friend and a great neighbour, and he was a really good friend to me all down through the years.
You couldn't have a more healthy and solid man on your side at the time.
I got on well with the boss, as we call him, Paddy Glennon.
He always had a great time for everyone. He knew everybody by their first name, and you know, you could meet him on a bad day and he could hate you. You could meet him on a great day and he'd nearly give you a hug. That sort of a way. He was a gentleman. He just considered that everybody was part of the team. Everybody meant as much to the company as what he did or his two sons did. So I had great respect for him.
I think he would have hammered home values to us, but no more than my mother was. I mean, you must remember that sort of the kitchen table was the boardroom table. And bear in mind, the business was in a locality, integrated in a community, so there were, you know, neighbours worked in the business, friends worked in the business, so there was always that common sense of community.
Mary, will you get the fiddle?
Late teens, I decided I was going to go into it. You know what I mean? Probably 16, 17, I was going to go into it, but you know, the penny never dropped till about 25, 26, you know what I mean? This could be mine someday, you know what I mean? And that we'll have to look after it from there forward. But at about 16 or 17, I had made a conscious decision myself, yeah, this is where I want to go to.
When Pat joined Glennon Brothers in 1978, he was taking his place in the ever-growing family business.
I started after dinner on a Tuesday. I was supposed to be here for a week or two, and then I went to another week, and then I went to another week, and then it was 3 months, and then it was 6 months. But no one actually ever physically came and said, you're hired. There was just so much going on, so I don't think anyone just forgot that I was here, and we just moved on. So I'm still here, so I'll be 25 years here in January, so well.
I do enjoy it, yeah. Well, it's all it's heard is said when you saw this just into the blood, that's it, you're hooked to it for life, like, you know.
But I could never see myself doing anything else now, and probably at this stage no one would want me anyway at anything else. But
I think the year I started, 62, the logs were so big at that time compared to now. They were, you know, if you were standing against a log, the log would be up over your head type of thing. They were massive logs, and to handle them and take what you had to get out of them, it was unreal.
You know, I was never in Longford a day before I came for my interview, and now I'm happily married, living in Longford. My 3 kids are born here, they're Longford people. So it's very much, you know, part and parcel of who I am now.
My dad would have worked with the company before me. It goes back to 1959, where he would have started work on the farm here. So as a child, I would have walked the farm here, I suppose, in a sense, till I was 5-6 years of age.
You're nearly nobody in Glennon Brothers by your 30 years. I mean, and we have 40 years and lots of 30 years. And I think that really reflects the length of time people spend in the organisation.
Pat's brother Mike joined the business in 1985, working first under the general manager Peter Wilson. Then, in 1998, Glennon Brothers bought a second sawmill in Fermoy.
There's a lot of nervousness because fellas know, right, who are these guys? Are they going to start letting people go, or what's going to happen here? But those of us that weren't that nervous of it knew that it was probably going to be a major investment because it was Glennon Brothers were coming to town. That sounds good now, Glennon Brothers were coming to town. But they did. In their first year, they went to the floor, to everybody, spoke to them, and emphasised that they were here for the long haul.
When we came, basically, we set about putting out a plan to build a state-of-the-art sawmill. So we absolutely cleared the whole log yard. We put down 5 acres of asphalt, basically, and we put in the new log sorting line that you see now today. The investment in here has been major. The whole yard, down the log yard, the whole lot has been tarmacked. And it's a foot and a half thick, like, you know. The investment by the company has been very good.
Pat is big into his machinery, and he has massive experience with it. He grew up with it. He knows more about this machinery than any of the rest of us here, and it's always good to have someone to go back and ask about it when you're looking for a direction.
In a forest near the Fermoy plant, one of Glennon Brothers' main contractors is harvesting logs. It's a process that has changed a lot over the years.
I worked a chainsaw in the forest for 15 years. 10 years non-stop, and probably the last 5 then wasn't as regular, but that's what has me as bent as I am today.
John Levy is with us since 72. He's 30 years in harvesting. So the contractor base are a very important part of our business because they look after the harvesting and the haulage, and they really, if they don't get it right, everything else falls down. And we're very, very fortunate that we have a very good contractor base.
What the operator is actually doing is he's looking for quality, and he's stacking the different products. The machine itself is making the decision in terms of the lengths it's producing and the diameters it's cutting. He's got GPS tracking, he has email back to the office to tell me exactly what he's producing. Everything's in there. The decisions that are made here by the harvester driver and by the forwarder driver taking it out determine totally what happens to those logs when they get to the mill.
We paid good money for our logs. Once we've bought the log, we have to extract the absolute maximum out of it. We've got to do that in the most efficient way we can and with the least amount of effort. So using technology to do it is the way to go about it. So by sorting the logs that we bought into the correct stacks so that we can maximise the yield we get from it, therefore we get the most high value product in the form of boards out of the logs.
This is what we call an optimizing scanner. And this computer rotates the log through 360-degree circle and says, this is the correct cutting angle for you. At this angle, I can get the most return out of this given log for you. This guy, here's a small turn to the right. Okay, next guy will be a big turn to the left, 83 degrees. There he goes. And you can see here, we call them sheep, basically, but you can see the actual logs moving through the line into the different machine centers.
Much as log harvesting has evolved, the process of transforming the logs into a range of timber products is also constantly changing. The new planing line in Fermoy is state-of-the-art.
Out of Fermoy, we roughly produce 1,000 cubic metres of sawn timber a day. This is one of our bales. It's a bale of 50 by 35, and you can see it's bundled. This is a Euro board. So this is a 150 by 22 kiln-dried, heat-treated pallet board.
There's no waste in this game. Everything we take in across our weighbridge goes back out in some product or other. I remember as a child basically in short trousers, you know what I mean? And there used to be a huge big pile of sawdust at the back of the mill. And it was my dad's dying wishes, if I could find something useful for the sawdust, that's what he said. And yes, we do, we burn our sawdust today to generate energy, you know what I mean, and heat for the kilns. And I remember as a child playing in the sawdust, you know what I mean, and getting your Wellingtons full of sawdust, you know what I mean, but God, it's miles away from where we are today.
The family business was growing fast, and the next move was a big one. It took them to Windymains near Edinburgh, where they bought another family sawmill, this time from Jim Harrison, in a deal he still remembers well.
As usual, Mike and Pat, they thought they were paying too much, and I thought they weren't paying enough. But at the end of the day, we struck an amicable deal where everyone, I hope, was happy.
This is the first major investment in Windymains, which is part of a programme of investment. So we're very proud of this. This is an all-singing, all-dancing treatment facility. If we had a capacity before of 50,000, we now have a capacity of 150,000 cubic metres, 3 times. So it's very much part of the Glennon brothers' ethos that the money is reinvested in the business.
The small team at Windymains were somewhat nervous about the business being taken over by the ever-expanding Glennon brothers.
Yeah, it was our sawmill. You know, it was maybe belonged to Jim Harrison, but you know, there was a good few guys that it was our sawmill. Of course, when the Glennons came over, there was a worry. Of course there is, but when you see the investment in something like this, you know, it's a comforting thought. Yeah, it's still our sawmill. It's still, we're part of a group, but we're still individual.
These are some of our big products, feather edge on this here, and then the green one is just a straight board. Everything on the label, so it's a 125 by 22 feather edge, the number of pieces, the cubic metres, the length, and the tag number. So once the guys have loaded it, they come round with a barcode reader, they will scan it, it gets downloaded to the office, everything happens from there, from delivery notes and to invoice, and comes from there.
The second Glennon brothers site in Scotland is at Troon on the west coast, another long-standing family business they purchased from Hamish Wilson.
6 years ago I had 3 daughters and none of them showed any interest in joining the business, so the Glennons took a 2 months option on purchasing the business, and they finally bought the business in March 2008.
Our timber is truly sustainable. It comes from a truly sustainable source. So anything that we bring in here, any forest that's been felled, has to be replanted, and therefore in the forestry cycle it's truly sustainable. I think it's important to the consumer, but it would also be important to me as a forester, because we're always thinking about the next generation and what happens in the future. And in forestry you have to be like that. It's growing a forest is a 40-year project, so you're always thinking ahead for the next generation.
And yet again, technology here at Troon is cutting edge.
But we are high tech, and there has been many, many millions. There'll be 18 million has been spent in this place since it was actually built. Everything is now automated. Guys hardly touch a piece of wood. So there's a lot of guys in here that I've worked with for over 20 years, and when I started them, they were skinny wee boys. Now they're fat adults. because they basically don't have to handle a bit of wood.
DTE, Glennon Brothers' first timber frame business in Arklow, now has a partner in Scotland. Alexander Timber Design, also located in Troon.
In the factory we manufacture all our timber frame panels, external, internal, floor cassettes and roof trusses.
It hasn't always been an easy journey for the company. In 2004, a fire destroyed the plant in Longford.
The business was in full tilt and then it just collapsed. So it was a very difficult time trying to protect your customers, you're trying to protect your staff, you're trying to protect the business itself. You know, at that point in time we were after spending over 20 million in the plant in Fermoy with serious capital commitments to repay banks on our shoulders. And like that period of time went on for over 12 months. So it was a very difficult and demanding time for everybody.
And not long after, the Irish construction industry effectively collapsed.
In 2009, the turnover would have halved in Ireland. So 40 million down to 25, 26 million. It was a very quick adjustment. It happened over 18 months, which was a lot to absorb very quickly.
But the brothers are committed and have invested over 40 million euro in Ireland in the last 10 years and are currently investing another 12 million.
They showed the lads on the floor that they weren't going anywhere, right? For the people on the floor to believe it. It's a hard thing to believe the nature of the business, but I'm sure fair dues to everybody. Everybody stuck together and they got through it.
We're after going through in Ireland a catastrophic collapse at the construction industry. And we've changed our business now from one that was selling 2/3 of our Irish product on the home market and exporting 1/3. Now we're exporting 2/3. Our main port of call has been the UK, but in an effort to find a euro to euro market, we explored and developed the French market. We've made history in it as we've been the first sawmill in either Ireland or the UK to send shipments to France. So the French market represents 10% of our Irish output, so it's a significant market for us. And since we started to send shiploads of timber to France, our export figure has reached over 13 million euros, so it's quite significant for us.
Glennon Brothers started here in the family home in Longford. They are still a family business with family values and a strong sense of community.
It's just like one big team. It's like one family working together. Everyone is pulling together. There's no hassle, there's no bad feelings. It's like one big team.
It's an easy going place to get it. Come into here in Longford. Nobody thinks they're anywhere better than anybody else. Everyone's on the same level, from the lad who drives the forklift to the top salesperson, even to Mike, as you can see the way he knows everybody's name. So would Pat.
You know, there's a lot of people that have a good number of years of service here, and I think that's indicative of their whole approach to work.
You have direct contact with the owners, which is probably unusual in a company of this size. Normally in a really big company, you don't have access to the people who actually own the business. In this company, you certainly do.
Certainly do get a sense of it as a family business. The guys are in touch with us daily, hourly, weekly.
There is a great bunch of people there, and it's to try and keep that connection, you know what I mean, that they all know me as Pat or they know Mike as Mike basically, and they feel that they can talk to us at any time. And that's the way we like it, and that's the way we keep it. And we're trying to encourage that as we grow.
They also like to make a contribution to the communities in which they work, and where better to start than with the Longford Gaelic football team.
There's a number of linkages between Longford GAA and Glennon Brothers. In fact, in the first advertisement in the Longford Leader, you can see we were manufacturing Commands, which is hurls. When they won the league in 1966, you know, it was on a Glennon Brothers truck that the team were brought around the town. So there's quite a number of linkages. From Pat and Mike's perspective, and indeed the entire management team, what would you do? What could you put back into a town? And it just became the right thing for us to do, to mark, you know, just the fabulous contribution from the people of County Longford to our organisation.
Come on, Longford!
They have also played their part in helping Gaelic football grow in Scotland.
Forestry is ultimately a rural-based thing. So the community aspect is very, very important with it. And when the opportunity, and in fairness, when we were approached by Dunedin Oak in Scotland to sponsor the first school children's league in Edinburgh, we rose immediately to that challenge, because once again, we want to put something back into the community which we operate in, and also it does carry the Gaelic thing further, so we're very, very happy to do that. And in fairness, that competition is going exceptionally well as well, and we're very happy to get involved in something like that.
In 2010, Glennon Brothers won an Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year award.
Industry Entrepreneurs of the Year are Glennon Brothers.
Just being involved with Pat and Mike, the effort they put into the competition, whatever they needed to do for it, and the night itself, to be there, and to be there when they won, it was great excitement, I suppose, for us all.
It was really the first time the business was recognised publicly for what it had achieved in the last number of years, and it was terrific for the team of people that the business got a formal identity, because most people know very little about sawmills and don't realise the work that happens in them. So it was great from that regard.
Absolutely thrilled, stunned and honoured to receive such a terrific award.
This is not a 9-to-5 job. Thank you for the consistent support and encouragement that you've given us. Thank you, folks.
In 2012, Glennon Brothers were selected as a national champion in the European Business Awards, and in 2013 received a coveted Ruban d'Honneur. Today, nearly 400 people in 6 separate locations make up the Glennon Brothers team.
Their strengths are very much with people. They have still managed to retain that family ethos.
You'd have to say it's in the vein. You'd have to. Them boys could have walked away from the business at any stage, but they didn't. They stuck with it. They stuck with this game, and they were proud of their workforce and they're proud of the company they've built up. Very proud of it.
Any company is only as good as its foundation or as good as its leaders. And they really are. They lead by example. They're hands-on directors. They're touching the company at ground level. They're meeting the customers at ground level, and I think that's just so important.
The lead by example. If Pat is walking by the line and he sees a problem and a fella is struggling to get a word out, he'll be in there with him and he'll pull it out. Very simple thing. It makes a difference to the fella that he's not beneath anybody. We're all willing to do the same job, and I wouldn't ask you to do it and I wouldn't do it myself.
Glennon's are a big business. They're in the top 3 in their sector, and they've been around for 100 years, so that's a fair statement, I would say.
I say I've spent 32 years with them, so they must be they must be doing something right.
I've enjoyed every minute, and long may it last.
I'm in the business since 1985. There was times I was worried as to whether we'd see this day. So the fact that we made it is an important thing. And the second thing, I suppose, we're probably not the best in Glennon Brothers at telling the staff that how good they are. We're probably better at telling them what they've done wrong than how good they are. And I suppose it really gives us the opportunity today to say, look, well done. It's a terrific achievement on everybody's behalf to be here today, that we've made it. And we've made some history in the last number of years, and we've proved to the outside stakeholders that we are a firm to back and that we can do it. And the other one is the customers and people who made a judgment call to say, look, I'm going to run with Glennon Brothers. It's kind of our chance to say thank you.